up as a kid. All a nigga wanna have was a Burberry scarf and $3 in my pocket. Instead I got beat with a switch, but I don't give a fuck, but it's on my body. Scars all up on me, but I run around from.
While we're on the topic of quarterback battles, let me go into another quarterback battle. Let's go to Foxborough, down there in New England. We have Jarrett Stidham versus Cam Newton. Now, a report came out a couple of days ago that Bill Belichick isn't just going to hand the keys over to Cam Newton. Cam Newton is going to have to earn his status of QB1 in New England. Now, a lot of people have this speculation that Cam Newton was brought in on a one-year deal, and you don't sign Cam Newton to a one-year deal if you're not going to guarantee him, the starting quarterback spot. And I think a lot of people have that as a misconception. Cam Newton was brought in on a one-year deal that's really cheap. So maybe you bring in Cam Newton to see what he can do. And since you bring him in on a contract that has that small of an amount, if he doesn't, perform in training camp like you expect him to, and he gets beat out by Jarrett Stidham, that makes it more easier on the Patriots cap situation to go ahead and cut him. You guys ever thought about that? Now, I'm not saying that is going to happen. I'm just saying a lot of people are bringing this in as a low-risk move for the New England Patriots, and that, this is a proven deal for Cam Newton, but a lot of people aren't looking at it from the opposite spectrum. You see, when it comes to me doing this job on YouTube for you guys, I have to give you guys every spectrum of the situation. A lot of people in the media are just looking at this Cam Newton situation from one angle. A lot of people aren't looking at it from the other spectrum. Maybe Cam Newton doesn't perform as well as we expect him to in training camp, and maybe he gets beat out by Jarrett Stidham. And maybe he doesn't want to be the backup quarterback. So New England, with that small amount of salary that they're giving Cam Newton, they can just go ahead and cut him. It's a cap-friendly deal, and they won't really have to suffer from a big major cap penalty. Now, that's just one spectrum of the argument. Now let's look at the Cam Newton versus Jarrett Stidham debate. Will Cam Newton start over Jarrett Stidham? Now, I think that he will. I think as of right now, Cam Newton is a better quarterback than Jarrett Stidham. Now, I'm not counting out Jarrett Stidham. Jarrett Stidham is penciled in as the potential successor or the quarterback of the future for the New England Patriots. And the New England Patriots, most of the time they draft the quarterback, they give that quarterback a chance to start. And the last quarterbacks that the New England Patriots have drafted have all been pretty successful. Jarrett Stidham had a really nice preseason last season. He had a good enough preseason that a lot of people don't remember this, but he actually beat out Brian Hoyer for that backup spot. Then, you also got to look at this. The last few quarterbacks the New England Patriots have drafted have all been starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Jimmy Garoppolo started for the 49ers to the Super Bowl this past season. Look at Jacoby Brissett. He was at one point in time the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. So the Patriots have pretty much been really successful on their hit rates when it comes to drafting quarterbacks in the NFL draft. And based on what Jarrett Stidham did in the preseason last season, he could potentially be the guy who could be the franchise quarterback for the Patriots moving forward. He does have talent. The Patriots like him a lot, and I still believe that the Patriots do like him a lot. A lot of people think that the Patriots don't trust Jarrett Stidham because they brought in Cam Newton. That's not necessarily the case. Maybe they brought in Cam Newton because they want to push Jarrett Stidham. Maybe they want to see what Jarrett Stidham is really made of, because it's an old expression that goes that competition brings the best out of everybody. Maybe Cam Newton was brought in to not only push Jarrett Stidham, but to cement Jarrett Stidham as the guy who can be the quarterback moving forward for the New England Patriots. Now, maybe Jarrett Stidham, argument 3, isn't ready to play right now. Maybe they feel Cam Newton gives them a better chance to win as of right now than Jarrett Stidham. And when you look at Cam Newton, you look at the contract that he was brought in as, Cam Newton is basically in the one-sided affair. Cam Newton, if he wants to get paid a pretty reasonable salary, he's going to have to not only beat out Jarrett Stidham, but play well enough to earn those incentives that are on his contract if he wants to make a pretty good salary this season for the Patriots. Now, Cam Newton is a guy who hasn't quite been the same. He has struggled with injuries the last 2 seasons. And a lot of people keep saying that Cam Newton isn't the same Cam Newton that he was from 2015. And the Patriots, and I've said this all offseason, when they signed Cam Newton, they don't need Cam Newton to be Super Cam. If you need your quarterback to be Superman, that just goes to show you that you don't have a great coaching staff. You see, Deshaun Watson in Houston, he has to be Superman because he doesn't have a great team around him, doesn't have a great defense, doesn't have a great offensive line, and doesn't have a great coaching staff. He's been carrying Bill O'Brien on his back ever since he got drafted by the Houston Texans a couple of years back. He has to be Superman because he doesn't have a good coach staff around him. Meanwhile, Cam Newton has Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels, 2 of the best at what they do. Josh McDaniels is probably one of the best offensive coordinators in NFL history, and Bill Belichick is the greatest coach to ever coach a game of football. So you can make the argument and say that Cam Newton isn't the same quarterback that he used to be, but you can make the argument and say that Cam Newton doesn't have to be 2015 MVP winning Cam Newton. Doesn't have to be that. He just has to be able to win a starting job and win games for the New England Patriots and be coachable. And I think that he's going to be able to do that. And I think that a lot of people are really underestimating Cam Newton. I know that Cam Newton is a guy who has struggled to stay healthy, a guy who hasn't really performed all that well for the Patriots, but you got to look at it this way. The Patriots have a better team than what the Carolina Panthers have had Cam Newton's last 2 years in Carolina. A better coaching staff and a better roster. Now, I know the Patriots have had a lot of players opt out. They have more players that have chose to opt out than any other team in the NFL. But that still doesn't mean that you should count out the Patriots. They have a lot of young players that can come in and produce, and you have the Sith Lord that is Bill Belichick. Every time you think the Patriots are done, what do? They come back and they shock the whole entire NFL. And Bill Belichick proves why he's the best coach to ever coach a game of football. College, NFL, Canadian, whatever you want to call it. So, I mean, a lot of people are going by the media's narrative about Cam Newton. The media's narrative about Cam Newton is that he's old and he's washed up and that he doesn't have what it takes, because a lot of people believe that if the Patriots need to win, they need Cam Newton to be Super Bowl or MVP Cam Newton, and they don't. That's just the reality of the situation. A lot of people keep relying on the media and using the media to affect their narrative. But you got to be able to have your own thoughts and your own opinion. You got to look at Cam Newton. You got to look at the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots don't need Cam Newton to be Superman. They don't. When you have a great coaching staff and a good organization and a good front offense and good chemistry in the locker room, you don't need your quarterback to be able to carry the team. If you need your quarterback to carry that team, that just goes to show you that you don't have a good coaching staff. Look at Aaron Rodgers when he was carrying Mike McCarthy and that Green Bay Packers team on his back. What happened? Mike McCarthy got fired. Look at Deshaun Watson right now in Houston. That just goes to show you that they don't have a good coaching staff. Anytime you need your quarterback to carry the team on his back, that just shows you that he doesn't have a good team around him. Now, a lot of people just look at that and they look at how great it is that the quarterback is carrying the team on his back. But the quarterback that has to carry the team and has to do the most for their franchise is a quarterback that most of the time doesn't win the Super Bowl. Deshaun Watson hasn't even sniffed the Super Bowl ever since he's been the starting quarterback. Look at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers didn't make it to an NFC Conference Championship game and had a good chance to win it until Matt LaFleur got there. When Matt LaFleur got there, the odds were even because he had a good coaching staff and he had a legitimate team around him. So a lot of you guys think that it's cute that a quarterback has to carry a team on his back. But, I mean, a lot of quarterbacks that have to carry their teams on their back that doesn't have a lot of talent, doesn't have a good coaching staff, and has to do everything for their team, doesn't win in the playoffs. Eventually, you're going to get exposed when you don't have a good team. So, I mean, Cam Newton doesn't have to be the same Cam Newton from 2015. Cam Newton just has to be able to go in there, beat out Jarrett Stidham for the starting job, know the playbook, be able to be coachable, and win games for the New England Patriots. And I think that Cam Newton is going to be able to do that. So I do think that Cam Newton will be the starting quarterback for the Patriots come week 1 this NFL season. But I mean, let's stop this whole entire Cam Newton's not the same. Well, he's not the same. He's coming off of two injury riddled seasons, and he's basically 30 years old. His body's breaking down. Of course, he's not what he used to be. I mean, as the more you play and the older you get, and the injuries that you come off, of course you're not going to be the same. But I mean, just because you're not the same doesn't mean you can't play at all. People got to stop thinking that a quarterback has to be Superman to win. You just need to have a good system and a good coaching staff in play to win as a quarterback. And that's what Cam Newton has working for him down there in Foxborough in New England.